Let's talk about people knocking on our door or peering over our cubicle. I love this image of this guy, because who hasn't had this happen to them? You got a minute? You know, people say, of course, it's never a minute, but who can say no to you got a minute? And we often want to be, I was going to say always, let's say often. We often want to be responsive and helpful to our colleagues, but that does not, once again, mean we have to do that right now. So I want to share a little technique to help manage those in-person interruptions. So let's say you've sat down, you're focusing on something, you've blocked off some time to do it, you've closed your door, whatever you've done to set yourself up for a focus burst of time. And then someone comes along, knock, knock, knock. They open the door, they barge right in, right? So what I suggest you do in this situation is to use the stand up technique. So here I am focusing, someone knocks on my door, hey Ann, you got a minute? I'm gonna stand up right away. Hi John, how can I help you? The first thing I'm gonna say is, how can I help you? What I used to say, I'll be honest, is I used to say, hey John, how are you? Right? So, and I'll do that at the water cooler. I'll do that in the lunchroom. I'll do that when I'm not trying to focus, because it is important to connect with your colleagues and get to know them as people. That's really important from the perspective of building a high performance team. High performance teams invest time in getting to know each other. But right now, this is not my invest in my high performance team time. This is my time to get this project done. And that's why I've protected focus time. So John comes in my office, I stand up right away. Hi John, how can I help you? It's friendly. And but it's also strategic, because that question, how can I help you, is really getting at, is this urgent? And saying, hey John, is this urgent is a little bit too abrasive. If it works for you, I don't judge. I question whether it works for you, but I don't judge. So, hi John, how can I help you? I'm trying to assess urgency. If John says to me, there's a crisis happening right now, I drop what I do and I run. But as we all know, that rarely happens. If John says, Ann, I'd like to get your feedback on the meeting we have coming up on Friday, I'm putting together the agenda, this is not an urgent request. So what I'll say to John is, John, I'd love to help you prepare. I have some ideas for that meeting as well. I need to get this done. Can I come and see you at 2 p.m.? So I'm going to negotiate another time with John. Can I come and see you in 15 minutes, right? So you figure out what works in your schedule. John and I will negotiate a time, and usually that's sufficient. So in the situation, let's say he agrees to 2 p.m. Great, I'll see you at 2 p.m. And John leaves, right? And I can go back to focusing. So I have not eliminated that interruption. We can't eliminate interruptions. They're still going to come at us. It's like one of those tennis ball firing machines that keeps firing tennis balls at us. Those interruptions are still going to be bombarding us. But the key is that we can manage the interruptions. So I contained the interruption, right? And I've negotiated a better time. Now, if John came and said, hey, Ann, can I borrow a pen? I'm not going to say, oh, John, 2 o'clock. I'll say, here, yeah, sure, here's the pen, right? So you've got to obviously make the call. This is not a perfect science. What we're trying to do is protect as much focus time as possible. So in this situation, John, can we do 2 o'clock? Ideally, they say yes and walk away. But not everyone does that. Sometimes what we find is they say, sure, 2 o'clock, but then they keep talking. And I don't know if you work with people like this, but I sure have come across people like this in my past, not my current team. My current team might be watching this thinking, is it me? Is she talking about me? And I'm not. For the record, this is not a staged intervention. But there are some people, and we all know who those people are, that they stay there and they keep talking. They start talking. They basically have the meeting at 2 o'clock right there. So they're chatting, chatting. And you're thinking to yourself, I got to get back to this task. And so I could either be like, look, John, I'd love to go through this in more detail, but I can't. Right now I got to work on this. So if that kind of more blunt, forthright approach works, that's good. But we often find that with people we don't know as well, or with people who might be more sensitive, people who might be a level or two below us, we don't want to offend. The fact that we are standing up gives us two options. Option number one, For someone who's pretty self-aware, they keep talking. You can nod, slowly turn your body back to your computer and then sit down. Okay, most people pick up on that. But for those who don't pick up on that, they're just so caught up and excited about what they're saying, what you can do is come up with any excuse. When they start talking, chatting, then you grab your coffee mug and say, hey, walk with me. I'm going to just grab a new coffee. And you literally start kind of walking out the door. And you head over to the coffee machine. But then the goal is to really veer off and come right back to your office. So you're basically escorting them away. And it's a pretty freaking powerful. I do encourage you to try it. And if your colleague is watching this video with you, then try it on them. And they might know what you're doing, but it still works. It's like magical. It's called the stand up technique. So interruptions can absolutely be managed.